Welcome to Plant the Love. We are going to talk about fostering wellness through the power of natural plants and positive mental health practices. I am your host, Ashley Rawson. On our show, you're going to hear from folks who have a lot of knowledge and expertise about this sneaky little subject. If you're curious if this path is right for you, you have come to the right place. We will empower you with information to make healthy, life-changing choices. We're so glad you're here. Now on to the episode. Disclaimer. The content in this show is for informational purposes only. It is not intended for medical advice. It does not take the place of treatment by a medical health professional. Listeners and viewers should consult with their doctor or medical health professional with any medical concerns. I am not a doctor. However, we do work closely with doctors when we review medications. I do not have a medical degree of any kind. What we are discussing has been in no way approved by the FDA. What I am sharing with you has been from my own experience and research. If you are taking any medication, do not make any changes until you consult your doctor. And now, let's start the Plant the Love show. Hey everybody, how are you? I am Ashley and welcome to Plant the Love. And I am absolutely honored to have my guest today. She is an incredible human being and woman and a mentor to me. And I will get into our story really quick about something that she did that literally changed my life. And so we have stayed in touch over these years, and I watched her grow as I'm trying to grow. And I thought she would be an absolutely perfect guest to talk about our topic today. And without further ado, I want to bring to you my dear, dear friend, Ann Jennings. Ann Jennings.
Hello,
Hi, Ann.
Ashley. Thanks for inviting me on your show. I feel so important and honored.
You are important, and you shouldn't feel honored. I'm the one that's honored to have you here. So let me put Jackson back. So that everybody kind of knows, this woman literally changed my life. As you guys know, in my own history, I've struggled with alcoholism. And at one point, this beautiful woman was my boss. And I was at a school in Dubai and started drinking again. I had a phone call to make to this beautiful woman, and it could go 50-50. She could get me on a plane and send my ass home, or do what she did, which is not what I ever expected any human being on the face of this earth to do. And what she did was prayed over me. And I haven't had a drink since that very day. Thank you. I'm about to cry, but I'm just grateful because you're a person that after that I'll never ever forget. And so I'm so grateful that we've been able to stay in touch with each other and talk about what's going on in our lives, the challenges, the thrills, the happiness, the joy, and congratulations on your recent anniversary. It's fantastic. High school sweetheart. I mean, you guys are amazing. You blow my mind. And so, this show is about how do we live better? How do we plant the love in our lives with the people that we deal with? And of course, with this and within ourselves. And that's something that you and I talk a lot about often is self-love and self-care, which is something that is not selfish and self-centered. Mm-hmm. There's an art to it. And we being educators and givers have to stop and take time to care for oneself. And when you do that, you actually become a little bit better out there in that world. Mm-hmm. And so without further ado, I just want to turn it over to you and kind of share a little bit about however much you want to share about your story. And topic tonight is mindfulness and resiliency, and how in the world do we navigate this in this day and age that is so polar. It's so polarized. And so, hi, Ann.
Hello. Well, I'm so happy to be here.
I'll shut up.
Please don't. I love hearing you talk. And every time I've tuned in to, your show, I think I'm just always listening for a little gem, to walk away with and think about. And there's always something that resonates, because I think ultimately we're all on a path, and we're all in different places on this path, and we all find those gems at the point that we're ready. And you're doing great work. And I know, just like I knew when we worked together in the Middle East, I see the divine in you. And then we just get to take turns taking care of each other, which is why I think we're here. I think we are here to serve and to be in oneness with each other. And that means, catching each other on the lows so that we can remind each other, sometimes we get to be the strength. And so I'm so proud of you, and I'm so happy to be here and talking about something that's really important, which is how do you stay in the source of love, and which ultimately I think leads to resilience when the world is imposing a lot of untruth and a lot of hard things, and we get to still stay in equilibrium with our highest self through that. And so what does that require of us, and what does that look like and sound like on a day-to-day when hard things aren't going to go away, right? So
one of the things that I think is important is the first thing we do in the morning. And you and I were blessed enough to have a retreat, a beautiful retreat at a gorgeous resort last year. We should do that again.
Yes, we should.
I noticed you have a lot of really good structure in your life, and you have a routine that you would hit on every morning. And one of those was your yoga, your salute, moving the arms, deep breathing. Yes. Tell us a little bit about that. And why do you think it's so helpful to help you throughout the rest of your day?
Well, I think we're in that state of mind in the mornings that, we get to set the table for the whole day. So one of the things that I'm trying to do is just hold some sacred space for myself to, allow me to set the table with in the right frame of mind, attitude and connection, and claiming, my truth for the day. And ultimately, the things that I seek most in my life presently is love, joy, and growth. And that means not staying comfortable and not staying complacent and staying at the edge of myself, which means, being uncomfortable is uncomfortable. And so we need to make sure we're armored up for the work, for the hard work, and for the joy that every day can bring if we are in a space to receive that. So ultimately it is it's like you put the filter in the coffee in the morning, right? It's like, how do I create a filter that my day is going to funnel through so that I can stay in a space of self-love. And with that comes a lot of grace, and also in a place of harmony. I know for sure that, especially, and you know this, Ashley, as an educator, there is no balance. There's no I just need more balance as an educator. I mean, I've been a school leader now for 13 years and continue to choose that as my work. And it is a 10-hour day, and that is never going to really balance out too much unless there's things I'm willing to let go of. And kind of, and I don't like letting go of things. So, because, when you're leading a school, you're taking care of a lot of people. And so I think that it's just really important to know that, to kind of like get out of your own way and make sure that we're taking that time in the morning.
It definitely helps, because you're without a doubt, if someone were to say to me, hey, who's somebody that that really is really good about giving grace to people, that would be you. Oh. And I watched how you were those mornings. I'm like, oh, she's super diligent. I might pray and meditate in the morning and say, okay, God, I offer myself to thee to build with me and do with me as you want to today. But you were doing like, and I may or may not get to the gym. You were diligently doing that breathing because it was setting that table, and you do exhibit grace. And my gosh, you have challenges. Definitely in the school systems today, without a doubt, there's challenges and not a lot of love in these homes. And you're just given that grace all day long. And it's amazing.
I think the journey that you and I have talked about a lot, Ashley, is in first and foremost, we have to give grace to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
It's
really
hard to
hard.
do.
It's
It's
much
hard to
easier
do.
to give it away than
Mm-hmm.
to give it to ourselves. And type A personality, and I love checking boxes, and
Mm-hmm.
I love getting things done. It drives me, it makes me feel accomplished, it makes me feel in control. And that sense of control feeds something in me that says, I'm doing something worthwhile.
Right.
I'm accomplishing things. And that feels really good to me. And it can be almost an addiction, right? Of
Mm-hmm.
that becomes more important than anything else. And so I think that grace is saying, I'm going to do my best today.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that will fall short of the list or the stuff and the things. And if I can put my hand on my heart at the end of the day and say, I did my best, that has to be enough. And my best today is very different than it will be tomorrow,
Of course.
or that it was, last week. And so that is part of that divine oneness that I think we is the ultimate connector. It starts with me. Um, and I think I shared with you last year that I had this tremendous moment. I was hiking and paused with a friend of mine, and we just sat and did a beautiful meditation. And meditation's become a wonderful practice for me that I start and end my day with. And I had the opportunity to, in that meditative, beautiful state, I sat across from myself as a little girl.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And this little beautiful voice in me said, "Ask her what she needs." And I did. And she said, "I need you to love me the most, more than anything else." And so that was just a sweet calling, an affirmation of our work that I think is that we all get to do. And in that place of like, okay, this is pinching me off right now. This isn't feeling good. This isn't feeling loving to myself. I'm going to do something different, is a choice that we each have moment by moment, day to day.
But if you're bouncing along in chaos with cortisol and adrenaline firing constantly, it's hard to know how to
Mm-hmm.
do that pullback, that breathe. And when we're living in fight or flight, and whatever, stressors are happening out in the world, it's hard. I mean, these are practices that we practice to try to instill. And I love you bringing that part up about your younger self telling you that, because um in a lot of the reading that I've done, most of who we become actually begins to develop before the age of 7. And so a lot of traumas that have occurred before the age of 7 really develop who we become, as adults. And those are some traumas that I'm, most definitely trying to work on. And that's not anything that's per se because we were raised wrong or anything along that sort. It's just how life interacted with us before the age of
Mm-hmm.
7, and generations of trauma that I've been talking about on my show that's just embedded in us genetically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I'm not sure where I'm going with that, except for the fact that loving that younger self and who we are now is something I think we all forget when we're just surviving in the world.
yeah, and I think it's so easy to look outside of ourselves for that equilibrium or that alignment or that
Yeah.
love, that feels like, um, I'm being taken care of, right? So I can only speak for my own story, but because of my childhood, all my stuff shows up in the vein of abandonment. And so that abandonment card shows up really loud and proud in a moment where, you know, for instance, my husband might not be anticipating my needs to the degree that I think he should, or, and it's like, well, that's, I'm now expecting him to source my, what makes me feel good. And if I'm dependent on him or my circumstances for my peace and my joy, it's going to put me in a spin of disappointment pretty much every day. And if you're disappointed and resentful, which I spent a lot of time being disappointed and resentful because people have fallen short. And then I just do to compensate, to show myself, like, see, I can do it by myself. See, I can do it by myself. I am on my own in the world. And it's such a lie. And it's that overcompensating and overdoing to prove a point to that child, right? It's dangerous territory because it's just all outward. And so I'm just learning, and I feel like just really at the beginning edge of understanding what it means to look inward when I'm outwardly not feeling joy or peace or love. It's like, wait, what's out of alignment in me that I'm feeling this way? And again, the more kind of tuned in you get to that voice, and the more you trust in that voice, it's going to answer. You know, it will answer you every time. And people call that voice different things. And that's okay, because there isn't any right or wrong answers. There's just love. That's it.
At what point did you, in your life, did you start to really recognize, because I think that I had to get into a program before I recognized that expectations on other people are kind of dangerous. And more than likely, if I expect things out of somebody else, a person, place, thing, or situation, I'm going to be really disappointed. And so that kind of goes exactly back to what you were saying, which I can't let the world and its people try to make me happy. That's got to come from right in here. And I had to learn that. At what point was there an aha moment or a situation where you recognized, this pattern of me expecting something from everybody else, it's not really the best thing. I need to alter that state and look more at me.
Yeah, I think we're a bit like the ocean. We ebb and flow in and out of the truth. And I think the truth has shown up at different times, and I would wade into it. I would wade into it and then kind of lose my footing again. And then I'd wade into it and lose my footing again. I think 25 years ago, one of my first therapists that I was seeing, because everyone needs a good therapist, or counselor or life coach, said, and you're never going to be good enough. And I was so mad about that. I was like, I'm going to show her, I walked out of there kind of like stomping a little bit. And I was like, well, and then it hit me like, oh, I'm holding this bar over my own head and falling short every single day. And the people around me are falling short of the bar I'm holding over their head, including my dear husband of 27 years. And so that bar gets very heavy. And I think I got to a point where I was like, this is a choice, that I keep picking up this drum. And I think last year was a heavy lift. When I started working with a life coach who was asking really, really hard questions like, Anne, what brings you joy? And I'm like, nature, getting things done, my family, but it was like real topical answers. And it's like, wow, what am I doing to pour into myself when there
Mm.
is no, when the world says there's no time to pour into yourself? You're a mom, you're a wife, you're a school leader. Um, you work 10 hours a day, you work one weekend day a week, like where's there time for the pouring in? And it's learning, like, I can't afford not to create space and time, and to um, lay down and surrender that bar of abandonment and choose love um, instead. So I guess that's a long answer to your question, but it's been a
It's
journey.
beautiful. It is a journey. And I love how you described it, ebbs and flows, because it really, I don't think for a lot of us it is a aha, oh, I just figured that out. It does. You kind of get to it and then you go, oh no, that's not very comfortable. I don't think I want to do that. And you go back to it again. And okay, so on ebbing and flowing, we do have to take a quick break and thank our sponsor, Osity Labs. And we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back talking more about ebbing and flowing.
Okay.
Over the last several years, the hemp industry has exploded. And Osity is a company from the South taking charge of this new frontier. We start with our own world-class plant genetics and use organic and sustainable farming practices to nurture our seedlings into top-quality flower. Our award-winning team uses a state-of-the-art extraction process to isolate not just CBD, but other complementary cannabinoids like CBG and CBC. We remove impurities and then have our own in-house analysis team check and recheck the accuracy of our extracted distillate that goes into our finished products. Our CBD distillate is over 95% pure. Its integrity is unrivaled. We are the industry standard for purity, quality, and consistency. We have a variety of skin gels, edibles, and tinctures. Try our brand out for yourself, and you'll know what quality really means.
I love those products and my little jingle. It's so fun. Okay, so back in ebbing and flowing. So there's never really an aha moment unless maybe something critical, or dare I say something painful happens in our lives that kind of makes us have to stop and say, I don't want to keep doing the same thing over and over. I want to do it a little bit differently. But you just have a beautiful ability of looking through a lens that is full of grace, love, care. And I see it through your children. They're beautiful people. Um, I've had a joy of being able to teach them. And it's just that comes from home and the roots that you've instilled in them and that you've tended to and that you've helped grow in, they're amazing human beings. And that comes from their mom and dad and what you're instilling at home. And so the work that you're doing on yourself, most definitely I see as being passed on to your beautiful kids because they're just well-rounded, amazing people, young adults. And not to get off on a tangent on that, but I do. I just think they're amazing. Um, so this whole journey about I guess maybe what we ended up coming back to today is the whole topic on self-love, because if we're not providing a lot of self-love, self-care in this busy life that we live, then we can't really be that useful to other people. And if I'm not well, I can't really absorb whatever comes at me and give that love and grace back always.
Yeah, I think it's my heart's desire is to whatever my highest self is today, and again, day to day that looks different, but ultimately it's to be able to shine a light brighter, and to remind people how the eyes of the divine see them. And if I'm not feeling that source for myself, it's going to be difficult for others to find that in me, and reflected through my interactions. And, it's simple acts of deep listening, simple acts of showing up and just saying, how are you? It's a simple act of saying, wow, this person is still on my mind. They keep coming to the front of my mind. I'm going to send them a quick text to say you're on my heart today, and just want to remind you you're such an important person in the world. And these when we're sourcing from a space of love, and I think when we boil everything back, Ashley, and I think you and I have had that conversation too, it's love or fear. Whatever the emotion is, whatever the challenge is, if I peel it way, way, way back to the root, you can source it to love or fear. And so it's like, okay, if I'm feeling this way about this, what is the fear, right? And if I'm thinking this thing, am I being loving to myself? Does this feel good? And if it feels good, it's loving to yourself, right? There's things that are bad for us that feel good, chocolate, and but I'm talking about kind of those day-to-day emotions and how they play out. And so the goal is, we're given a light. We're only given one vessel to get through this life with. And so how do I treat it kindly? And how do I make sure that I'm giving to it what it needs to be able to serve and be conscious in a world that's very noisy? And that consciousness is the gift that we have, is like to be aware of what shows up and what do I get to do with this right now? Do I need to attend to this right now, or can I reframe it? Or can I, call it something else instead of saying, I'm so worried about this, I'm so stressed. I'm curious, I'm curious about this. I wonder how this is going to play out. I wonder what the solution is going to look like. How do we reframe things through a lens of possibility by being conscious of when limitation and self-doubt and all those barriers show up to get in the way of our divinity? I don't know what else to call it. That's the only word that I can say. Like, when I will never forget the day that I saw that divine light on your shoulders, you were walking across the campus. You had a string of kids behind you. And I was like, wow, that is a powerful woman. And it literally, I told you, it took my breath away. Wow. And I was like, wow. And if I wasn't conscious in that moment, would I have missed that in you, right? Missed getting to say to you, you are amazing. And I don't even know you that well. We're not even friends. And I just know one thing about you, and it's just that you're amazing. And, way back when we first were, just colleagues. So I just think that's the work. Those are the couple of questions we get to come into the day with is, is this, am I starting the day in a loving way? Am I present? Am I being present in this moment? And if I'm not, let's just clear the decks for a second, so we can show up more fully. And, I think just not take everything just so darn seriously, because if we zoom out just enough, there's so much to be grateful for. There's so much impact we can have if we don't get stuck in the muck.
And believe it or not, that's it. We're done. Can you believe it went by that fast? Yeah, so it is. Fast. We're at 29. It did. I told you, we blink and it goes by. But fear, false evidence appearing real. It's not even real. It's false. And that can just dominate us if we're not careful. And thank you so much for being here. And hope to have you on again. It was lovely having you. And I hope you get back to your day. Please say hello to your wonderful family. And continue to plant the love as you do so very, very well.
Thank you, my friend. Love you.